What's up, man?
What's all this about?
So I'm just asking, the students to see if, if they think they're honest and open-minded. Would you consider yourself honest and open-minded? Would you consider yourself an intellectually honest person when it comes to, discerning information?
Yeah, I feel like
right?
I should be.
I mean, why wouldn't we be, right?
Right.
So from 1 to 10, how honest and open-minded would you say you are?
Well, I used to come from a pretty conservative background.
Okay.
So, as I'm moving away from that, I guess I've been a little bit more and more open. But,
Okay. Little by we
yeah.
grow every day, so being
Yeah.
open-minded is part of growing, if you ask me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have 3 very easy questions to test to see how honest and open-minded people are.
Okay.
So would you like to give it a shot?
Sure.
So the first one's the hardest, but then they get easier. They're all multiple choice.
Okay.
Multiple choice. So this first one, I have 2 images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph and one of them's a painting. So I want to see if people can tell the difference between the photograph and the painting.
Both look like photographs.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. I mean, would that be your final choice?
I think so.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Pretty
So
good painting.
yeah.
If one of them is painting, it's pretty good.
No, yeah, you almost got it because it is a trick question, but they're both they're both paintings. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they're both paintings. Yeah. So
Okay.
this is actually done on an iPad, a digital painting.
Mhm.
This is actually pretty famous. You can find it online. There's a time lapse of this one being done, and this one's an oil painting. So
Okay.
I don't expect people to get this one because it's impossible to tell,
Right.
obviously. So there
Yeah.
is 2 reasons why I asked this question, and they have to do with common sense.
Mhm.
So the first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, right? Because you
Right.
believe me that wants a photograph, that influences your choice, right?
Right.
So the second reason is if you want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough. Because if I showed you an image of me flying or me walking on water, would you believe I could do those things?
Yeah, see, it'd be
Yeah,
very
it's
difficult.
obvious.
Yeah.
Especially if the image defies physics, basically, is my point.
Right.
The image has to be thrown away. So the next 2 has to do with physics, elementary physics, actually, very easy.
Okay.
It has to do with water. So could we agree that once water is contained, like in this bottle, it always seeks its lowest point? In other words, it always goes down. It always goes to the bottom of the container. Because I could turn the container upside down, but water always goes to the bottom.
Right.
Water, that's what water does. That's why waterfalls are not upside down.
Right. Yeah.
It's obvious. That's the fact of, about water. So it's not a trick question. I could, you don't have to believe me, but
Right.
it has to do with physics. But since we understand water always goes down, right? How I'm showing you these 2 images or photographs, whatever you want to call them, which one is upside down? Since we understand water always goes down. There you go. You got it. Yeah, you got it. This is the one I was I took it like that,
Right.
holding it up to the ceiling. Yeah, you got it. So this last one's even easier. So have you ever heard of the term "water always finds its level"? So that's another thing about water. It always goes down and it always, finds its level.
Okay.
Like when you go to a pool, right? So what would be another word for level? You got to use a different word.
Probably balance. I would
Balance,
say.
a good one.
Balance.
Horizontal is actually the
Horizontal.
proper definition of level.
Okay.
So since we understand that fact about water as well, it always finds its level. Which one of these 2 represents level as we know it when it comes to the water?
Well, as we know it, the most common is A.
Hey, it's
Yeah.
obviously right.
Right.
So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been made to believe that this is what it does, even though we know it's this one. You want to know how we were tricked?
No.
In other words, do you believe the Earth is a ball or a sphere?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like
Okay.
it's
So
the same.
NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which gives us a circumference of 24,901, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile it increases. So in the first mile is an 8-inch drop. The second mile, 32 inches. By the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature, and in 10 miles, there should be 66 feet of curvature. So if we actually went now like a giant lake that was miles across to measure for this curvature, the water is going to show us that it's going to be parallel to any horizontal structure or level structure.
Right.
But they're trying to tell us that the water is bending every mile and every mile increasing more and more and more. But we understand the physics of water, it doesn't do that. So
Right.
in my opinion, this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe. So if I was to ask you, what's the #1 proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Probably due to gravitational forces that keeps the water in place.
So
That would
you-
be my best guess. I mean, it's pretty much probably a lot more complicated than the cliff notes. or
Right. So
if
you're
even
saying,
that.
so you're saying gravity, right?
Yeah.
Gravity. So do you know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is?
I do.
I do. Can I show you a 20-second clip real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So here's Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was asked about what is gravity, right? So this is his answer.
What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question.
Give me
Here's the
one.
difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does.
What is
I
gravity?
have no idea. Okay, next question. Here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with start asking, like, what it is, I don't know.
So the real reason why he says he doesn't know what gravity, I don't know if you knew this, but gravity is just a theory.
Right.
So the claim that some force is pulling this object to the ground is not has never been measured, seen, or observed in any way, shape, or form. So it's just a theory. And another thing about gravity, when it comes to establishing the shape of the Earth, I would say it's a red herring. You know what a red herring is? It's a false argument.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and the reason why it's a false argument because how things fall, or the reason why things fall, has nothing to do with physically measuring the Earth's curvature. Because even if gravity was true and was bending all the oceans and all the lakes on Earth, we should be able to physically measure that curvature of the water bend. But at the end of the day, gravity has nothing to do with establishing the geometry of the Earth. If that makes any sense.
Okay.
So what they measured was, I know you heard of 9.8 meters per second squared, the rate in which things drop. So they're measuring the effect, which is things falling. They're measuring the speed in which things fall, which is the effect. They're not measuring the cause, what made it fall. Does that make sense? You know, that's why it's a theory. But the reason why that theory is pushed on us when we're so young, and it's pushed on TV and it's pushed everywhere, is because it's like the glue for this whole heliocentric model. Because it's like, if anybody has any logical questions, gravity is just the answer. For example, how do airplanes fly level? You know, because airplanes fly straight, but then they'll say, oh, gravity autocorrects for the curvature of the Earth. So airplanes fly level, but their gravity is making them bend. And how does water bend on a globe? Well, gravity. You know, how does the sun, you know, how does the Earth orbit the sun? Well, gravity, you know. It's just, again, it's just like a mantra word, if you ask me. That has no proof, because again, it's a theory. It's just to basically explain away all the logical, you know, questions that we're gonna have. Like, how do people stand upside down in Australia? Gravity. You know what I'm saying? So, so it's just, you know, I would say, again, it's a red herring. You know, it's irrelevant. You know?
Okay.
Do you have any questions about this subject? I know you've probably heard about this subject before.
I have. It's just that I've never really put that much thought into it.
And most
honestly.
people haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, and before I came across this, I never even crossed my mind, you know?
Yeah.
So the real reason I'm doing this out here as well is because I came across this in 2016, and it started getting censored since like 2018, 2019. And the way they're censoring is they're not removing this information from the internet. What they're doing is they're demoting anybody like me, like seriously talking about it and giving the facts. And they're promoting all these experts, so-called expert scientists on YouTube and Google, and they're just dismissing it, ridiculing it, and misrepresenting people like me. You know, they try to clump us in one group, like, oh, flat earthers deny science, and it's like, you know, they're just playing on people's emotions, basically. You know what I'm saying? Because science is measurable, testable, and repeatable. It has nothing to do with theories. And we're talking about real science. It's the study of the natural world. You know, natural science, physics, biology, chemistry. You know, what they teach us in school, the globe earth model, it's a concept. So it's formal science. So it's not real science. It's not natural science. You know what I'm saying? So it's language based.
Okay.
That's how they teach that with mathematics, you know, that's how they basically trick us. You know? So they redefine level. They don't say it's horizontal. They say that level means equal distance from the center to the surface or the outer circumference of a circle or sphere. So that's what level means in their eyes. So they're trying to say that a basketball is technically level. The surface of a basketball is level because it's equal distance from the surface to the center of the basketball. But in reality, we know level means straight, means horizontal. That's what we use leveling tools in construction. You know what I'm saying? So just real quick before you go, just I have some images here of the horizon, because I know a lot of people say, oh, when you go high enough, you can see curvature of the horizon of the Earth, right? But these are all taken with amateur cameras, because the only place you're ever gonna see curvature of the Earth is through GoPro fisheye lens like this. I don't know if you're familiar with the wide angle, right? Or through CGI cartoons like this. You know what I'm saying? So basically, it doesn't exist. Basically, you know what I'm saying? So, do you have any questions before you go, or?
No, not necessarily. I mean, just don't.
Would you like to hear another main point?
Well, it's like, I don't know. Like, for me, it's like, it comes down to, like, why, well, what's the reasoning as to why they would push this narrative?
Right. Okay, a lot of people do ask that question. It's a good question, to be honest. So, the obvious answers for this, in my opinion, is obviously NASA gets over $70 million a day. So, it's a tax gap, basically. So, everything they're showing us from outer space is just cartoons. So, it's basically NASA's Disney for adults. So, you know, Disney is literally a multi-billion-dollar company. So, NASA's is basically the same thing, but for adults. So, they're stealing a lot of money. They're basically warping our common sense. And the reason why they do that is so that we're easily controlled. So, if we give up our common sense, you know, and our intuition to someone else, then we're just going to obey what we're told from this person that we think is smarter than us. So, it's about dumbing us down so that we're easily controlled. But then people, there is a deeper question to like, but why would they want to do that, right? To be honest, I'm not the one lying, so I wouldn't know the real reason why they're lying, but those are the obvious reasons in my opinion, you know what I'm saying? So maybe they found out something about this place, like, I think they're still exploring this place. Maybe they found out something about this place they don't want the rest of us to know. You know what I'm saying? So that could be the reason. Maybe they're protecting us, right? From this truth about this place that they found out. So that could be a reason too why they're like to protect us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the reality is, I don't know. All I know is that we're being controlled. We're being literally fucked. You know, with all these taxes and fees, and we just believe these people. We just trust them. You know what I'm saying? And again, because we think they're smarter than us, but in reality, they're not. We're all equal.
I agree with the sentiment that we're being controlled, but I don't know, like
no,
this is
how
where,
deep it goes. No, I understand.
Yeah, no.
I understand.
Like,
I don't
understand
expect
through other means. It's like pretty blatant, pretty apparent as to
But
what
you
they're.
will agree that money is the fuel that drives all the lies that go on in government.
Oh yeah, no, of course, it's all about financial.
So
gain within
money,
our
if you ask me, is one of the tools, obviously, that's used. And again, I don't know if you knew, but money has no value at the core. It's not even backed up by gold anymore. So they're literally printing it out of thin air, but nobody's paying attention. Again, nobody's really using common sense. And again, we're just following these people that are just claiming things, and we just believe it. It's like a religion. We literally live in a religion. The heliocentric model, the ball, is a religion. Why? Because it's based on faith. Another thing all religions have in common, they give you a creation story. The heliocentric model gives you a creation story with the Big Bang, evolution, all this bullshit about how it came to be. The fact is, nobody knows how this came to be. But the fact is, it was created. I don't know if you knew the first law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. That debunks the Big Bang theory, because they try to say that everything came from nothing. But again, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. We're part of something eternal, basically. We're part of something infinite. So, what is the God? I don't know. Everybody has their own version, Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha, and they're just characters like this. Just imaginary characters, or you know, they're not real. So I do have some information here if it intrigues you, because it is being censored. If you try to go online or Google or YouTube, you're gonna get nothing but ridicule. Nothing. It's just gonna make you cringe, and that's the whole point. Make you cringe so that you never look at it. You know. So, but these are the 6 main proofs, and I have some websites there that if you want to check them out, you know.
Here, to be honest with you, you know, I just because I didn't want to like waste it, throw it away or anything like that.
I mean, I have
you know?
plenty of them, but if you don't want to take it, I understand.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not that I'm like, you know, just blowing it off. You know,
No, it's okay.
I'm here. If it was anyone else, like everyone else just left, but I was waiting to hear you hear the argument.
No problem. I mean, do you have any questions before you go? No, I mean.
No, actually, I gotta get to class, but thank you. I really appreciate your time, man. You have a good day.
You have a good day too, man. What's up, man? So I just want to see if people are actually honest and open-minded. Would you consider yourself honest and open-minded?
Absolutely.
All right, that's right on. So from 1 to 10, how open-minded would you say you are?
I would say an
8. Well, that's pretty good. So I actually have 3 very easy questions, multiple choice, just to see how honest and open-minded people are. So.
8. Sure.
All right. So the first one's the hardest, but then they get easier. All right, so
Okay.
I have 2 images here,
Yes,
and the
sir.
reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph and one of them's a painting. So I'm gonna see if you can tell the difference.
One's a painting, one's a photograph.
Yeah.
They both look realistic, but I'm gonna say that's probably the painting.
Okay. It was actually a trick question. They're both paintings.
They're both paintings?
Yeah.
Oh.
So some people would say they think they're both photographs, right? I'm pretty sure that's what you thought as well, huh?
At first, but I could tell like the way from the lighting, it doesn't feel like it was
Like natural,
real light.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So,
but yeah, they're
this
both.
one, I was impressed because I know there's a lot of photos of Morgan Freeman, so
There you go. Yeah.
I
No,
just assumed.
right. So yeah, they're both paintings. So I don't expect people to get this one, especially because it's impossible to tell. But there is 2 reasons why I asked this question. It has to do with common sense. So the first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, right? Because you believe in the one's a photograph,
Yeah.
can influence your choice. So it's not good to just believe someone, right?
Right.
So the second reason is if you want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough. Because if I showed you an image of me flying or me walking on water, would you believe I could do those things?
it would look realistic, but that
You,
wouldn't be
you
enough
wouldn't
to-
believe it, yeah.
no.
I would ask you to show me, yeah, you could fly right now. You know, I wouldn't take an image over
Right.
the reality. You know?
And even then, you'd be like, "How'd you do that?
Yeah,
What did you
exactly.
do?"
Like, is there some kind of trick? Or you have some
Yeah.
wire, invisible wire or something, right? No, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That defies physics. My point is that if an image defies physics, we shouldn't trust the image, basically.
Right.
It's obvious. So these next 2 have to do with physics, so I can't lie to you, you know? It has to do with water. So could we agree once water is contained, like in this bottle, it always seeks its lowest point? In other words, it always goes to the bottom. It always goes down. Because I could turn the bottle
Gravity?
upside down. You could say that, yeah. You know, water is always going to show us down,
Right.
the bottom, right? So since we understand that fact about water, it always goes down. So I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see. But since we understand water always goes down, how I'm showing you these 2, which one is upside down?
Oh,
Since we understand water always goes down, always
Right.
goes to the bottom.
Which is
how I'm
upside down?
Yeah, which one is upside down? How I'm showing you.
well, they're both facing up.
Not the bottle, just how I took the image, basically.
You flip down, you kind of
Yeah.
took it upside down.
There you go. This one's the one I took like that.
Yeah.
You got it. Yeah, the water's what showed you that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. That's obvious. Pretty easy. Yeah, there you go. So this last one's even easier. So have you ever heard of water always finds its level?
I think so.
You ever
Yeah.
heard of that? So for example, like the surface of a pool, you know, once
Oh, like-
water's contained, you know, what will be
Kinda
another
balances.
balance? Exactly. So what will be another word besides balance and level for level?
Equilibrium.
Equilibrium is good. Horizontal is actually the proper definition. So all of those are good. Balance, equilibrium, but horizontal, you know, is a proper definition. So since we understand water always finds its level, you know, and we know what level means, which one of these two represents level as we know it?
I'll say
When we're looking at the water,
which looks.
which one represents level? Water level.
I guess the A.
Yeah, that's an
Probably.
obvious one, huh?
Yeah.
Because this one's, you know, parallel to the level structure. It's horizontal. So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is the answer, even though we know it's this one. You want to know how we were tricked?
How?
Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Right? So I used to believe that too. So NASA, they came to have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So
Yeah.
they do tell us the radius is 3,959 miles. So that means that there needs to be curvature every mile. So the first mile, there should be an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. So every mile it increases because again, it's not a slope, it's a curve. They're telling us.
Right.
So by 10 miles, there should be 66 feet of curvature in 10 miles. So if we actually went out at like a giant lake that was miles across to measure for this curvature, the physics of water, you know, is going to show us that it's going to be parallel to any horizontal or level structure.
Right.
But they're trying to tell us that it's actually bending 6 feet in 3 miles and increasing more and more and more. So in my opinion, this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe. So, you know, the physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific, the surface of water. So if I was to ask you, what's the #1 proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
My #1 proof?
#1 proof, or the #1 thing that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Probably if the way ships disappear after they go far enough into the ocean.
Okay, so both going over the curvature, as
Yeah.
they say. So I don't know if you knew this, but we do have a limit to how far we can see. So for example, if I hold an object in front of you and I keep moving away from you, it's gonna get smaller and smaller and smaller the further I go. That doesn't mean the object is shrinking. It just means that it's further away in your field of view. Because again, we do have a limit to that. I would say the horizon is the limit of our field of view, not the curvature of the Earth. So when a boat goes over the curve, it's just going out of sight.
Interesting.
Yeah. So again, if that curvature was truly there, we should be able to physically measure it again. So I go back to a physical experiment, which is, you know, measurable, testable, repeatable. You know, just looking at something and making assumptions about it, it's not scientific. You know, because again, we need to be able to physically measure, test it, repeat it everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But let me just show you images of the horizon, because a lot of people would say, oh, but if you go high enough, you can see the curvature of the Earth. So these images were taken from over 20 miles in the sky, which is 4 times higher than airplanes fly. So, and this is with a standard camera, and it's always a horizontal, you know, line, and it always rises in front of you. So if the horizon was the curvature of the Earth, the more you rise up, the more you will have to look down on the horizon. You never look down on the horizon, never. It's always in front of you. Because again, you're only increasing your angle of view, you're increasing your field of view. That's all you're doing. It has nothing to do with curvature. You know what I'm saying? So the only place you're ever gonna see curvature of the Earth, are you familiar with GoPro cameras, like wide angle, right?
Yeah.
It warps the image or horizontal lines. That's the only place you're ever gonna see curvature of the Earth through GoPro cameras or action cameras or CGI cartoons like this one.
Interesting.
So this is an official NASA image from 2012, and they admit their images. They don't call them photographs, and the reason why is because they're Photoshop. But they call them composites, though. They don't call them Photoshop. But it's just another word, a fancy word for it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know, it's a trip. And I don't know if you knew, but the word image comes from the word imagination.
Yeah.
So yeah, so all of these are imaginary, basically. That's why they call them images. You know what I'm saying? They don't exist. So if you ask me, NASA is just Disney for adults. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just cartoon.
I think it's kind of a waste of funding. 'Cause I feel
Exactly.
they should invest more on, like, you know, this-
Here,
Yeah.
resources here.
Exactly.
Exactly. There's so much poverty, homelessness, you know, people going hungry. You
We
know
haven't
what I'm
even
saying?
explored the rest of the ocean. It's like, how are we gonna focus
Less
on
than 10% of the ocean, but yeah, we want to explore by the way, outer space. Let me just show you what the stars actually look like, because we've been lied to about outer space as well, not just the Earth. So this is what the stars actually look like. These were taken with a powerful 83 times zoom camera. It's a Nikon P900. There's a P9000 right now, I think.
But
But
take a picture.
yeah, go ahead. So You could look on Google too, put P900 stars, and these will come up.
P900 stars?
P900 stars.
What is the P900?
Oh, P900 is the camera.
Oh, okay.
P900 is the camera that they used. So it's the strongest zoom camera on the market right now. It's an optical zoom too, so it's real zoom. So the fact that we're able to bring these stars into focus tells me that these stars are no more than a few hundred, maybe 1,000 miles in the sky. So I know you probably heard about this, that there might be a firmament or like some kind of dome. I don't know if you heard of
Like the ozone layer?
No, that's what they call it. But in the Bible, it talks about a dome or a firmament over the earth.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, because we have air pressure here on Earth, right? And they say that outer space is a negative pressure.
Yeah.
So in order to have two opposing pressure systems next to each other, you need a solid barrier, like a container, right? Like a cylinder.
Yeah.
So if there's no solid barrier, there's always going to be equilibrium. So the air is always going to rush out to equilibrium. So the fact that the outer space is next to our pressure without a barrier, that defies physics. So outer space defies physics, basically. It's just the concept that's not real again. So they get us to believe in outer space, so they could get us to believe in the ball Earth as well. You know what I'm saying? So this is what the stars look like, and this is what the planets look like. So this is what NASA shows us, the CGI cartoon of Mars, but this is what it actually looks like. It's just a twinkling light in the sky. Nobody knows what these stars are, other than people used to use them for navigation, because they reset every year. It's like a calendar above us, if anything, that's it.
Yeah, that's what the ancient Mayans and lots of civilization used to use.
Exactly, and then another thing is, since people used to use stars for navigation, usually using triangulation, you can only use triangulation from a straight baseline, because that's the only way you're able to have 180 degrees to be able to calculate angles. Because if you're doing it from a curve, all those angles wouldn't match up. So navigation using the stars wouldn't work on a globe either. And the fact that they do proves that we live on a datum line, on a baseline. You know, that's why it's called sea level.
Right.
Level meaning horizontal. You know? And that's why the horizon comes from the word horizontal. You know what I'm saying? So do you have any questions about this subject before you go?
So what do you propose that these are, like, have we not discovered the planets yet?
No, so the planets, the word planet comes from the word wandering. So wandering, so because these are all fixed in the sky, all the constellations are fixed. These have their own unique pattern, so they're not fixed with the rest of these. They do their own rotations in the sky. So that's why they were called wandering stars, but they changed the word wandering to planet. So now they're called planets, and they claim that they're Earth-like ball planets, but Earth is not even a ball. So it's like, it's all just made up, basically. The whole heliocentric model with the outer space, and it's all religion. The fact is, nobody knows what this place actually is, but 100% it was created.
What do you feel the sun is?
Oh, the sun is just a light.
Just a light?
But that's the thing, what is light? I don't know what light is. What is light?
It's hard to describe, but
I don't even know if light is matter.
what do you think about that one old theory about how the Earth was the center of the universe?
Right, the geocentric model, right. That's actually, this aligns more to that. That this is the center of everything, that this is the creation of everything. So again, people have this idea of outer space and there's infinite millions of light years away, right? Again, if we have air pressure here, that means the dome theory is a more scientific theory than outer space. So if anything, we might be contained somehow, some kind of containment. That's why the air that we have here, we're able to breathe in and stuff, right? We have pressure, you know. So I don't know if anything, we need to explore the Earth, both south and go north, and see what we find. There's a lot of restrictions in the south and the north, so it's illegal going through. So I'm actually doing this to spread awareness so that we get to a point where maybe people will actually go explore on their own. Because the government can't hold us back. The government works for us. They do it for safety. So they make these places restricted for safety. But
Safety
again,
from what though?
Exactly. They're just saying from freezing, I guess. I don't know. Oh, they're protecting the penguins supposedly in Antarctica. Like people are gonna go hunt penguins, like for what? You know, it doesn't make any sense. But it's just to keep people away from finding out what this place actually is.
I see.
No, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. The reason I do this is because it is being censored online. So I came across this in 2016, and in 2019 or around 2019, it's starting to get censored. So the way they're censoring is they're having these experts or these scientists, mainstream scientists, just ridiculing it, dismissing, and misrepresenting people like me. So they'll just, these crazy flat earthers, they'll just group everybody into one category and just call them crazy and science deniers. Right? Just name calling. That's literally all they're doing, name calling. But all they have is theories, which is not science. Science is measurable, testable, repeatable. It has to do with the natural world. Physics, you know what I'm saying? Physics of water being the number one proof.
So what is your main, one of your main reasons why you believe that?
Well, it's not a belief, it's a knowing. So it's annoying based on my understanding of the physics of water.
All right. Well, like I mean, it's like you know, some people believe the Earth is round, and
Right.
you know, like what you believe
Yeah.
to be right is it's flat.
Well, that's the thing. I don't have beliefs. If you ask me, it's either I know something or I don't. So, as far as I know, it's water always finds its level.
Right.
So people claiming that, oh, it starts to curve after a mile or after 2 miles, it starts
Doesn't
to curve.
make sense.
It doesn't make sense because now the burden of proof is on you making that claim. That's an extraordinary claim
Right.
that needs extraordinary proof. But it's just theories when you start talking to people like that defend the globe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's when you start to see it fall apart in your own mind. You know, like, I don't expect you to accept this right away because honestly, nobody should be able to do that.
I just like hearing everybody's
Exactly.
thoughts
That's
out.
yeah, that's
because
good.
I think it's the right way to get to the true answer.
Exactly. So here are the 6 main proofs that debunk the globe. Euclidean plane geometry is a big one, and I don't know if you ever heard of that. Euclidean
A little
plane.
bit.
So it's the geometry assumed to construct everything we see, and even for navigation, it basically assumes we live on a level plane.
Yeah.
They don't take account for curvature when flying or when building long distances like bridges or railroads. So everything is done from a datum line. All the blueprints don't have curvature of the Earth on them. So yeah, completely changed my life, you know, when I came across this. So I'm just, and the fact that it's being censored, you know, I just have to come out here and just share it. A lot of people are closed-minded. You seem to be pretty open-minded, and I'm glad. But a lot of people are just closed-minded, and you know, it sucks. And it's just the propaganda, if you ask me, that people, you know, just been following. You know.
How long have you been studying this for?
Well, I came across this in 2016.
And back then you were
I was a space junkie, dude. I believe everything about a space. Like, it's just.
Well, gosh,
It's ironic because I would just look at alien videos on YouTube, right? And then out of nowhere, I just got a flat Earth video recommended to me. It was a ball Earth versus flat Earth. And I'm not gonna lie, the first time I seen it, I was like, I'm not gonna waste my time with this. Like, it's obviously a globe. I'm not gonna waste my time with this. So I dismissed it a few times, and then it kept popping up in my recommended. So I just clicked it once, and oh my god, like it just made so much sense. Like I just clicked another video, and then clicked another, and then just. And out of nowhere, it's just my brain just started clicking, and bam, you know, I'm just where I'm at now, just following that trail of truth. You know what I'm saying? So, how long ago did you hear about this subject, flat Earth, right?
probably back a couple years ago.
A couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not gonna hear much from it in the mainstream, and if you do, it's just gonna be ridiculed for sure.
And then if you try to talk about it in class, teachers.
Oh my
always,
god,
like,
the
put you down.
teachers! Oh my god, I wish I could talk to a professor so I could highlight, you know, their how they act. You know what I'm saying? But and the responses that they'll give, you know. But you know, maybe in the future, a professor will walk by, you know, and maybe stop. We'll see. No, yeah, hopefully. So, what grade are you in here? What are you studying, if you don't mind me?
I'm a first year, and I'm studying sociologies because I want to work in the school system so I can be a counselor.
Oh, okay, counselor. Okay, that's cool.
Because I got a lot of family that work in the LAUSD school district.
I see.
So with that kind of connection, I feel like I could get a good
Yeah.
resume.
No,
And, you know,
definitely. No, that's actually pretty smart to go the route that you're already familiar with or your family's familiar with.
because I've helped both my uncle and my mom with some of their stuff, and I kind of liked it, so I might work in an area like that.
No, that's good. That's good, man. So, I mean, thanks for talking to me, man.
No problem.
Appreciate you taking the time.
What, are you a student here too? Or?
No, I'm not. I'm just visiting. You know, just challenging the students' common sense. You know what I'm saying, and open-mindedness. So yeah, hopefully you'll hear about this later on from someone else. And I mean, it's gonna be growing little by little.
Yeah.
The propaganda and the censoring is slowing it down, but you'll see, little by little.
Well,
Yeah.
keep at it.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Appreciate it, man.
It's always important to keep learning.
Yeah. Always keep an open mind, man. Appreciate it, man. All right,
Have a good day, bro.
man.
You too, bro. Thank you.
Oh yeah, mushrooms too. What's up, man?
What's up, man?
So, would you guys consider you guys, you know, honest and open-minded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
From 1 through 10, how open-minded would you guys say you are?
I'd say 7.8.
10.8.
They're probably around there.
I'll say like
a 7.7.
Okay. No, that's good. Over a 5 is good. I mean, just to come up to the table shows that you're a bit open-minded, right? To find out. So I have 3 very easy questions, multiple choice, and I want to see how honest and open-minded people really are, right? So, so that's good. The first one's the hardest, but then they get easier. They're all multiple choice. So I have 2 images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph and one of them's a painting. So I want to see if you could tell the difference.
That's so one of them's the painting?
And one of them's a photograph.
No, I say that's the painting.
That's either way. It's a fire painting, but I think that's the painting on the left.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe this one. I feel like you can see like more sweat on
I
his
say
face.
painting on the right.
Like
No,
more
because
detail.
I can kind of see like the speckling potentially. I don't know. Like this one looks more glossy. So I'm thinking that's the painting.
Yeah, I would. I'll just go for a wild guess. I'll say that one
All
as
right,
well.
fair enough. It was actually a trick question. They're both paintings.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't expect people to get this one because it's impossible to tell, right?
Yeah.
You know, but there is two reasons why I asked this question. It has to do with common sense. So the first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, right? Because you guys believe me that one's a photograph, that influenced your choice, right? So it's not good to just believe someone, you know, obviously. But the second reason is if you want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough. Because if I showed you an image of me flying or me walking on water, would you guys believe I could do those things? No, right? Because that defies physics. It's obvious. I wouldn't believe that either. So these next two actually have to do with physics, elementary physics. You know, so I can't lie to you. It has to do with water. So if we agree, once water's contained, like in this bottle, it always seeks the lowest point. In other words, it always goes to the bottom because I can turn the bottle upside down, but water always goes down. It always goes to the bottom. Doesn't matter what orientation the bottom is, right? That's a fact. So it says we understand that fact about water, that it always goes down, right? I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see. But it says we understand water always goes down. How I'm showing you these two, which one is upside down? Because we understand water always goes down.
See, I think
Which
it's a
one is
trick
upside
because
down?
you're gonna say that one is the one, but this one you actually took the picture upside down because the red is the ceiling.
You got it.
The red is the
You got it,
ceiling.
yeah. So this one was the one that's upside down. So it wasn't a trick
Yeah.
question. You got it. This one was the one upside down. This one was right side up. And obviously the water is what shows us that, right? It's obvious, pretty easy, right? So this last one is even easier. So have you ever heard of water always finds its level? So not only does water always go down, it always finds its level. What would be another word for level? We had to use a different word.
Like flat, balanced.
Okay, balance, horizontal is actually a
Yeah.
proper definition for level. So we understand that fact about water as well. You know, it always finds its level. This one's the easiest, by the way. Which one of these two represents level as we know it when it comes to the water? A or B?
B, because it's like the curvature of the earth
Okay.
is like
Okay.
it's horizontal.
So do you think this is what level means? Well, water?
I think the water might be level, but it depends. Oh, actually, no, because it's only like 1 mile and 2 miles, so no, that one would be more accurate. 'Cause
Okay.
I feel like over like a wider distance, then the water
Okay.
would curve more.
I
But
mean,
no.
just looking at it based on just a horizontal definition. then
Yeah,
that one,
exactly, right? So the real reason I do this, and you kind of went there a bit, is because obviously the majority of people believe this one, and it's because of what you brought up. Do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, so NASA specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit, so they need to know the radius of the Earth. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,159 miles. So if we multiply that times 2, we get the diameter, right? We multiply the diameter times pi, we get the circumference. So the circumference of the Earth is 24,901 miles. So that means there needs to be curvature every mile, and every mile it increases because it's not a slope, it's telling us it's a curve. So the first mile there's an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, by the third mile there should be 6 feet of curvature, and in 10 miles there should be 66 feet of curvature. So if we actually went out in nature, like a giant lake that was miles across, to physically measure for this curvature, the water's gonna show us, you know, if you ask me, that it's gonna be parallel to anything, you know, level on top of it, or it's gonna be parallel basically to that. But they're trying to tell us that it's bending 6 feet in 3 miles, you know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, this would be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe, a physical measurement of the Earth, you know what I'm saying? So if I was to ask you guys, what's the #1 proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Because
He
you can
actually
go in-
doesn't.
I don't believe that it's a bull.
I like that. I like that.
I
Okay,
mean,
so
if you went in this, well, like just like for example, Ferdinand Magellan was able to travel around the entire Earth. If the Earth was flat, you wouldn't be able to travel around.
so
the whole Earth.
circumnavigation, that's what you're
Yeah.
saying. Okay, so I'm gonna bring out this map. I don't like using this map because nobody knows the true dimensions of the Earth, but I'm only bringing it out for examples. But here, I'm gonna explain circumnavigation from a level plane. So if what they're showing us the Earth is, you know, all the continents, right? If that's all that exists, which in my opinion is not, this is what the Earth would look like. So if they say Antarctica exists on the bottom of the globe,
Oh my god.
in
you
reality,
know what I told you guys.
in reality, it's a ring around the Earth.
That's what, yep.
So circumnavigation, all compasses point north, right? That's a
Yeah.
fact. All
Yeah.
compasses. So the north will be a center point on this map. So when you go east and west, what way do you go? A circle. So if you go east, you're going this way, because you always have to autocorrect to north. So you basically end up making a flat circle, east and west. You know what no one has ever done in the history of mankind? Circumnavigation from north to south.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that would prove the globe. You know what I'm saying? But nobody has ever done it. And there's a reason why.
See
Because
who
you
does
go-
it flat?
Oh, I know it. It's
Yeah, I
not
know
flat,
it.
It's
I
level.
think it's a curvature to it, but it's not. I don't. Yeah. I believe in the
You
exact
came
way you
across-
said
yeah,
Antarctica
exactly.
and all that too.
Yeah. So again, I don't know if Antarctica actually exists or not, but if it does exist, it has to be a ring around us. But for all we know, it's just more continents over here.
So
Yep.
We don't
if
know.
if I traveled, like if I circumnavigated north to south, would you believe me?
Yeah, but no, that's not gonna be possible.
Alright,
I don't know if you knew though, but
I'm gonna be
Antarctica.
back here next week. I'm gonna go
Please.
do it.
But yeah, I don't know if you knew though, Antarctica, it's actually restricted. Anybody going
Yep, no
66
offense.
south of the parallel,
Yep.
Yeah.
you will be stopped.
And-
Supposedly, I don't know if they're
and
enforcing
all the
it.
countries are all like
Yeah.
stationed over there, and then they
Exactly.
had wars over there. Supposedly, they had a Treaty
Yeah.
of Antarctica in 1957.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but a whole lot of stuff, bro. And they
Admiral
changed the name of the
Byrd. Admiral
definition.
Byrd,
Admiral, bro, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I read all about it.
I don't know
Yeah,
if you knew, but it's being censored. This information.
yeah,
is being
it is.
censored.
It is.
And
Yeah,
the way
yeah.
they're
You can't even
censoring
find it. Like the books are banned. A whole lot of stuff. Like, bro,
They're just all
You
these,
can't find it.
They
It's
have Neil
all-
deGrasse Tyson, Brian Cox, all these
Yup.
experts supposedly just ridiculing it and dismissing it.
yeah, that's
it.
crazy. You're like the
That's
first
all they're
person that talks like in public. I knows about Admiral Byrd and all that. It's like that's crazy.
No,
Antarctica.
yeah. So yeah,
I'm
I'm
looking to Sergeant Pigeon too.
Pigeons.
So I actually do want to find out what this place actually is because I don't think nobody knows. I think the military right now is exploring this place.
They're actually sending a particle accelerator from Geneva over there right now. They're trying to break through something.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you
I don't know
look
if you
into
heard of you guys heard of the dome theory, right?
Yes, that's
If
what
you
I
ask
heard.
me, the dome theory is a more scientific theory or possible theory than the outer space theory.
Yeah, that's
It
what the
is.
Bible
Yeah,
says.
That's what the Bible says it too.
Exactly. Well, the outer space doesn't exist because you can't have
Yep.
negative pressure next to a positive pressure
Yeah.
system without a barrier.
Yep.
So Earth has to be physically
It
contained
does.
somehow.
I believe there are satellites, but it's like
With
under the dome.
Yeah.
Van
atmosphere
Allen
as well.
belt. Oh, the atmosphere. So the atmosphere needs to be contained. So the atmosphere cannot be the container. Does that make sense? The atmosphere needs to be contained. So the atmosphere itself cannot be
So
the
do you
container.
believe that we went to the moon or no?
Oh no.
No, that's
no.
just
The
bullshit,
moon
bro.
and the sun.
Even the cameraman over there, like they already made it. He couldn't put his hand on the Bible either and swear that he won the moon.
Man, none of the astronauts wanted to swear that they went.
Yeah,
to
bro,
the
it's
moon,
over,
but-
bro. It's BS. It's a whole
But yeah,
big.
the fact,
thing.
yeah, there's so many anomalies when you look at the moon landing videos. You can see wires, that are holding them up when they fall and come back up. Like it's just so unnatural the way
Yeah,
they move.
the
It's
guy that
just-
had the cameras that filmed everything.
Yeah.
He even admitted that it was all just a big play. It was
Yeah,
fake.
yeah, but all those videos are censored. That you
Yeah.
won't see those.
You won't see it. They
videos.
move everything off right away because they don't want people to see the truth.
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
only that.
That's
they have-
everything. That goes for
yeah.
everything. Yeah,
No,
they don't want. They put out what they want you to see. They won't show you what's like,
What's
the truth,
actually real.
What's really going on. They won't show you
Exactly.
reality.
So here's a fact. This place was created. So they're hiding the fact that this place was created because I don't know if you guys heard of the first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So they can only transform from one form to another, right? That debunks the Big Bang theory because the Big Bang claims that we came from nothing. So anybody trying to tell you how this place came to be and what we're supposed to be doing here, it's just a religion, because all religions try to give you a creation story, what we're supposed to be doing here. And the heliocentric model gives you that with the Big Bang and evolution, all this bullshit millions of years ago that supposedly happened. The fact is, I don't even know what the fuck happened 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I will have to take somebody else's word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to believe something happened thousands, millions, it's just retarded. Sorry for using
No,
that,
it's true.
but it is.
okay,
You know what
okay.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just a trip, man. So just real quick, these are the images taken of the horizon without a GoPro lens, so a standard lens, 20 miles in the sky. So the horizon is always horizontal no matter how high you go, and it's always in front of you. So if they try to say that the horizon is the curve of the earth, the higher you go, the lower you will have to look on the horizon. But nobody ever looks down at the horizon, never. It's always in front of you, no matter the height. Because the horizon is just the limit of perspective. It's just how far we can see. So after that, it's basically the vanishing point. The horizon is just the vanishing point.
You seen the guy that sent a rocket up there? He made a rocket and it stops right at the
73
top.
miles up.
73 miles, yeah, it
something
stopped,
that.
yeah.
It's the Go Fast rocket, I think. That's what
Yeah,
it's called.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty trip. I don't know
Yeah.
how it stopped out of nowhere,
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is
And
that
then
it
moved
didn't
those videos
shatter,
off right
though.
away too.
It didn't shatter.
It didn't. It
would-
just
You
stopped.
would think
yeah.
it was shattered.
Even if you look at like the SpaceX launchings, all that, if you really pay attention to it, it hits something, then like it gets smeared off something.
If you ask me, the reason why some rockets that they exploded back in the day when they shoot
Yeah.
them up, it could be just from the change in pressure. It
Yeah.
just couldn't stay together and it just
Yeah.
blew up. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they hit a dome.
I
at
think
that
because I
height.
went 2 years ago, I was in Pasadena. I watched one of the when they launched something up there.
Okay.
and it looked like it hit something that just smears off. It looked like a
Because they do
sauce.
curve. They
Yeah.
all go to the Bermuda Triangle. And the reason why they scare people with the Bermuda Triangle, like nobody go there because boats go missing, is because they don't want nobody seeing the rockets land there. So they create the story of the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
If you ask me, if boats have gone missing, it's because maybe they seen something they weren't supposed to.
They weren't supposed
And-
to, yeah.
And then
they're
they
hiding.
went
It's
missing.
same thing as Antarctica. You can't
Yeah,
enter.
the army
there.
took them or
It's
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
No, yeah, I'm glad you. How long ago did you come across this?
Oh, well, I've been in this for like years. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
okay,
I've
okay,
really
no,
been.
yeah.
I've been digging
No, yeah.
deeper for the last couple of months.
No,
Like,
yeah. So Yeah. So the reason why I go out and record conversations because like you said, there's not a lot of people talking about
No,
this in
at
public.
all.
So I like to show a method of approach.
Yeah.
Because if I just had a sign that said the Earth is flat or ball, most people would just ridicule off the back and they'll just have a wall up already.
It's like the
They
indoctrination.
won't even listen to me.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what
the
I'm saying?
indoctrination. Like
Hey,
they
there
build
you
it
go.
into you where like you're supposed to believe it since you're a little kid. So when you grow up and you hear something different,
Yeah.
you're obviously not gonna believe it. Like if you were in a deep sleep and I go to wake you up and I tell you something, I will try to wake you up. You're gonna get mad at me. So if you
Yeah.
tell someone something different than what they were supposed to believe in their whole life,
Yeah.
they're gonna come at you different.
That's why you gotta question people to the truth. You gotta be very sneaky.
And you gotta be careful
Yeah.
too, because they obviously don't want people like us telling other people what's happening.
Yeah, believe it or not, people would say that what I'm doing could be dangerous,
Yeah.
So, but at the end of the day, it doesn't scare me. The system doesn't scare me. Death doesn't scare me. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah,
I know
I
we're
get
part
you,
of the
yeah.
infinite. So that's how they scare us through fear of death. And that's how they control us too. Because they make us think that we came from nothing and that we're just gonna disappear into nothing after. But the fact is, we're part of the infinite. We're part of something that's infinite. Again, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So whatever created this place, whatever put us here, we're part of that, and that never dies. So I don't know what that is. Some people say it's like a pool of just souls or of consciousness, right? That we're part of. So if this is a creation, then we're part of. This is not our natural environment. We're just experiencing this place, like a carnival ride, right? Because if this was a creation, then we come from somewhere else, and we're just here to experience this creation. Right? So, but a lot of people think that this place is infinite, that the Earth is infinite, and that everything here is infinite, so that we belong here, right? So again, we don't know. I don't know whether we belong here and this is all that exists, or if we come from some outer experience or outer reality outside of this one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, so just real quick, the only place you're ever gonna see curvature of the Earth, again, is through GoPro cameras. Just so you guys, when you guys research this, you're only gonna see curvature of the Earth through GoPro wide-angle lenses or CGI cartoons like this. So this is an official NASA image, and the reason they call it image is because it's not a photograph; they're Photoshop. And they don't call them Photoshop though; they call them composites. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically just NASA for adults, Disney for adults. NASA's just Disney for adults, basically. So, do you guys have any questions before you guys go?
Bro, appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no worries. Here, let me give you some links you guys could check out, and I could give you my YouTube channel. You can check it out.
Bet.
Yeah. So here, here's the 6 main proofs that debunk the globe, and there's some links on there. Again, because if you just go on your own, you're not gonna find it. But cross-reference. I implore you to cross-reference. Make sure the information that you're getting is true. And use your own discernment. Here, let me give you my card. So here's my YouTube. My YouTube channel is the first one on there, and those are other channels I recommend. That basically help me get to where I'm at now.
Thank you, bro.
And yeah, thanks for talking to me, man.
Got it,
You guys
man.
have a good
Nice
one.
meeting.
All right,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys have a good one. So that does help. Yeah.
Sorry, I had a question. I remember this whole thing called like with surveying. You know how like when they line up the holes and they shoot the laser through,
Okay.
it doesn't line up over a long distance.
Right.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
laser experiments, what you're
Yes.
saying. Yeah. So, have you seen the documentary on Netflix?
No.
No. Okay. I would call it.
I'm not like super deep into this.
No,
I just
right.
like remember seeing.
I would
this
just call
on-
that a mockumentary. So that's deliberately there to basically misrepresent people like me. So it's called Behind the Curve. It's on Netflix, and they do a laser experiment. I'm gonna tell you why laser experiments are faulty. What happens when you shine a laser in water? Does it go straight?
I don't know.
No. If you shine any light or laser in water, it's gonna refract because of the water. It's not gonna go straight because of the moisture. I don't know if you knew that air it has moisture in it.
Yeah.
So whenever you do a laser experiment through the air, it's always going to be refraction. So you're never going to know how much is going to be refracting because that's going to be depending on the moisture, how much temperature, all that. So in my opinion, a physical measurement, because that has nothing to do with refraction, it's a physical measurement. So a physical measurement, like a structure over a body of water, is way better than a laser because the laser is always going to be definitive. And that's why that one's on Netflix, because they want just people confused, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, laser experiments I wouldn't give too much merit to because of refraction, basically.
All right, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man.
What is this?
So I want to see how honest and open-minded people are. Would you consider yourself open-minded?
I'd like to think so.
Right?
I wouldn't know until, like, I guess I'm testing.
Right. So from 1 to 10, if you had to give a number, how open-minded would you say you are? Just before we test it.
I'd say baseline, like maybe 6.5.
Okay. I was gonna say you have to be at least a 5 to come up to the table, right? You have to be a little curious and open-minded. Yeah. So that's good. So I have 3 very easy questions, multiple choice, and then we're gonna test to see how open-minded you actually are. All right. So, So I have two images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph and one of them's a painting. So I want to see if people can tell the difference.
I'm gonna assume this is the photograph.
Okay, fair enough.
And this is the painting.
Okay, I like that you use the word assume, but yeah, it's actually a trick question. They're both paintings.
They're both paintings.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't expect people to get this one. It's impossible, you know. Obviously, you can't tell, you know. But there is two reasons why I asked this question. They have to do with common sense. So the first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, right? Because you believe me that one's a photograph. It's not good to just believe someone. So the second reason is if we want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough. Because if I showed an image of me flying or me walking on water, would you believe I could do those things?
I wouldn't believe it, but I'd assume to get the photo, you could do something together.
Yeah, but it would be some kind of trickery going on.
Yeah.
That's my point. That it's not real. You know, people can't actually fly. You know,
Alright.
point being. So my point is that if an image defies physics, we shouldn't trust the image, basically. So the next two have to do with physics, so I can't lie to you. It has to do with water. So could we agree once water is contained, like in this bottle, it always seeks the lowest point. In other words, it always goes down. Because I could turn the bottle upside down or any orientation, but water always goes down. It always goes to the bottom, regardless of the orientation of the bottle. Right? So since we understand that fact about water, that it always goes down or always goes to the bottom, I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see. But since we understand water always goes to the bottom or down, how I'm showing you these two, which one is upside down?
Well, I wouldn't be able to tell.
No, if you're looking at the water, if we understand it always goes to the bottom or down, how I'm showing you these, which one is upside down?
Just based on the terminology, that one.
There you go. No, yeah, this one's the correct one. So because the water can't stick to the top of the bottle, so I took it like that, holding it up to the ceiling. Right? So you got it. So so you got the first one. So the last one is actually the easiest. Have you ever heard of water always finds its level?
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that term? Right? What will be another word for level? Like if you wanted to describe the level, what level means?
I'm not sure.
Could we say horizontal?
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the proper definition for level. You know, you can look it up. Because you could have a straight line, but if it's on a slope, it's not level. It's a slope. Right. So it has to be a horizontal straight line. That's what level means. I mean, that's, water always finds its level. So since we understand that fact about water as well, it always finds its level. We know what level means. Which one of these two represents level as we know it when it comes to water? Here.
I'd assume A.
Yeah, that's the obvious answer. I mean, that's the one that's parallel to the level structure, right? So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is the answer, even though we know it's this one.
All right.
You want to know how we were tricked?
All right.
Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles. So there needs to be curvature every mile. So the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. By the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. And every mile, it just keeps increasing. So in 10 miles, there should be 66 feet. So if we actually went out to a giant lake that was miles across to physically measure for this curvature, the water is going to show us that it's going to be, horizontal, the surface of the water, like of that lake. But they're trying to tell us that the surface of that lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and increasing even more after water. But if you ask me, this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe, a physical measurement of the Earth, of water in specific.
Okay.
Yes, if I was to ask you, what's the #1 proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Well, me personally, I've done experiments myself.
What will be the best experiment that you've done?
Take a stick from one side somewhere, take the same stick on somewhere else, measure the distance between the sun angle between a certain time, and that should tell you the curvature.
Okay, so
it's very mathematical.
Yeah. So you're talking about the sticks and shadows experiment, right? I forgot who made that experiment. So here's the thing about that. Here's where it's faulty. So they made 2 assumptions with that experiment. So the first assumption they made is that the sun was 93 million miles away and that the sun rays are coming in parallel, right? Okay. So that's one assumption that they made. The second assumption that they made is that the Earth was a radio ball. So what they measured with the sticks and shadows experiment was the circumference of the Earth. So they measured the angle that the shadows changed from the one that was right up there. And based on the angle it changed and the distance between those 2 points, they were able to theoretically come up with the circumference of the Earth. So that's what they did with the sticks and shadows. They measured for the circumference of the Earth, assuming it was already a globe. All right. So they made 2 assumptions. So it was a faulty experiment, basically.
All right. So you think the Earth is flat?
It's not. I don't think it's flat. I know it's level based on the physics of water. So have you heard of the term sea level?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you ask me, the oceans are horizontal. They're level. So all the continents are on the same plane, basically, and the oceans are level, just across from each other. each other.
All right, let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
So how would the model of, say, the sun and moon work with the flat?
Okay,
say, Earth?
so first of all, anything that has to do, I'm gonna answer that question,
Yeah,
but just real quick, I want to make a point. Anything that has to do with the sun, the moon, and the stars, to try to prove the Earth, to me, it's a red herring. So if you're trying to use the lights in the sky to prove the geometry of the Earth,
Okay.
it's a red herring because a red herring is a false argument.
All
And
right.
the reason why is because just looking at the stars tells us nothing about the floor we're walking.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, but like you said, how would the sun and moon work on a geocentric Earth, right? That's what you're asking. So again, I don't like to use this map because nobody knows what the Earth actually looks like. But I just use it for reference, just so people know what I'm saying, right? So this is what the Earth could look like. I don't think this is what the Earth looks like,
Okay.
but this is what it could look like, right?
All right.
A level plane like this. Antarctica wouldn't be on the bottom of the globe. There'll be a ring around holding in the water, and the north will be the center point, and everything else is just spread out, right?
All right.
So your question was the sun and the moon, right? So the sun, first of all, just real quick, you know how they made assumption that the sun rays are coming in parallel? These are corpuscular rays. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it's sun rays coming in through the clouds, and they all come in at an angle. So again, them making an assumption that the sun is 93 million miles away with the sun coming in, the light rays coming in parallel, these rays debunk that. 'Cause-
Okay, I got a question for
Yeah.
you then. If the Earth were to be flat, and you say the sun follows this one,
well, this is in our summer, but it moves in and out. So in our winter, it's doing a bigger circuit, and that's
how
why
would that
Antarctica,
explain
Australia.
the time for night and day?
Oh, night and day. So here's the thing: the sun. I don't know if you can see in this image. There's a hot spot underneath the sun on the clouds. So that tells you that the sun is very close. So it's not 93 million miles. If you ask me, the sun is probably a few hundred miles in the sky.
Okay, yes, but no.
And it's very tiny as well.
Alright.
So they supposedly they measure the sun to be around 30 miles in diameter. Again, I wouldn't say that's a fact, but supposedly using the light, triangulating the light to the source, the sun supposedly is 30 miles in diameter and a few hundred miles in the sky, maybe 1,000. Who knows? But since it only goes so high and it's only so big, it can only illuminate half of its plane.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
but my question is, so
it just rotates above, and night and day is just.
how would it be exactly half though? For instance, if I were to take a light, any light, and shine it straight here,
Right.
it would make a circle.
Yeah, so the magnetic north, there's models that explain this. Again, I don't like to go with models, I go with reality. So
Okay.
the real answer will be I don't know.
I don't
To be
okay.
honest with you, all that has nothing to do with the geometry of the Earth.
Okay.
But I'll give you an explanation. So there's models that supposedly say the reason why the light doesn't, when it's in our summer, doesn't shine over here is because of the magnetic north.
How does magnetism have anything to do with light?
With light,
rays,
right?
though?
That's the thing. That's what the models show. It has to do probably with the dome that supposedly covers it. But if you ask me, again, nobody actually knows how the sun works and what
But-
it's actually doing.
I mean, we could. Okay, yes.
Nobody
but-
knows. That's the point, and it's irrelevant to establishing the shape of the Earth. That's my point. So we could talk about the sun and the moon all day. We're not gonna get more. What we should stick to is physics, how water behaves, and physically measure to see if the oceans or even the lakes on Earth are bending. That's what they're telling us, that every lake on Earth is bending 8 inches per mile square. But I understand the physics of water. Any pool, any lake, water is always going to find its level. It's always going to it's always going to equalize on the surface. That's what water does. You'll never see water with a bump or
Yes, you will.
you think when water's contained, you think you'll ever see a water with a bump like that?
If you fill it up to the top,
Oh, you're talking about meniscus.
not
Yeah,
the meniscus,
the surface tension, my bad.
No, I should know. The hydrogen bonding. I'm a chemist,
No,
so
yeah.
I know how water works.
You're talking about when you fill it up to the top of the rim, and then you could see. Oh yeah, I would agree that a smaller scale, like about, I don't even know if this one would do that. Maybe it would.
It would.
Maybe, but if you extend that bigger, you wouldn't be able to do it anymore.
It still would, but the amount of the meniscus would be very, very small. We've tried that
Okay.
before.
Even if there was meniscus, that mini.
For instance, if you do it on a penny, that
I
curvature
understand.
will be very
Okay,
exaggerated.
I agree that, but if will a pool have that meniscus?
Same concept. Yes, it will, but the amount of the size of it
If you
will
ask-
make that meniscus very, very.
I don't even think the meniscus will be in a pool anymore.
Yes, it
It's only a minute.
If it's-
even
okay.
even if the meniscus was there, let's say it was in a lake that still doesn't prove that it's bending 6 feet in 3 miles or 66 feet in 10 miles.
Okay.
66 feet is
I have
a
a
6-story building.
Okay, I have a retort for you then.
Yeah.
Say instead of water, this was land.
Okay, land is irrelevant because land is uneven.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to be water. The experiment has to be over water.
So I'm assume you follow the fact that if you were to follow a boat out the way, you would see it sort of sailing and then just disappearing rather than falling below the horizon.
Yeah. So you think the boats go over the horizon, right?
Yes.
So, okay. So here's my point. My counter argument to that. So we do have a limit to how far we can see. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So things get smaller the further they go away, right? If I move this, that doesn't mean this object is shrinking, right? It's just going further in your field of view. When it gets to the horizon, if you ask me, the horizon is our vanishing point of perspective. So it's just the limit of how far we can see. So anything going beyond that, it just disappears based on the law of perspective. So again, we don't have infinite vision, so we're not gonna see that boat just keep going forward and focus. Again, we see, pyramid shape.
But say if you were to have a camera and you were to zoom in,
you could zoom in boats.
You would still, after a while, see the top of the boat, the bottom of the boat.
So with a camera, again, a camera doesn't have infinite zoom either. It might have better zoom than our eyes, but a camera still has limits. Okay. So yeah, a boat goes over the horizon to our naked eye. We bring a camera, we'll bring it back into view. But you're saying that if it keeps going, it's gonna go out again, right?
Yes.
Again, but it's just because the camera has limited zoom as well. And eventually the atmosphere is going to get in the way from seeing even further. So even if you have a really strong zoom camera, let's say infinite zoom, the atmosphere is still going to get in the way from being able to see across.
How would this explain seasons?
Oh, so the seasons, again, it's irrelevant to how the sun works, and I honestly don't know. But Australia has their summer opposite to our summer. So when it's their summer, it's our winter. When it's our winter, it's their summer. That's what you were taught in school even, right? So this model, when it's Australia's summer, when the sun is above them, right here, it's our winter because the sun's furthest from us. So we're not getting that heat that we usually would get. So when it's our summer, it becomes their winter because now the sun is furthest away from them. And this would explain too why they experience 2 or 3 months of darkness while the sun is doing a smaller circuit in the center. Because the sunlight doesn't reach out there. And that's why they experience 2 months of 2 months of darkness in the winter. If you ask me, it's because the sun's doing a smaller circle when it's our summer. And I don't know if you knew, in Alaska, there's actually a 24-hour sun, right? This model fits that 24-hour sun. You know what I'm saying? That being able.
If it were to do that, however, it wouldn't support the fact that sometimes there's sun here at the same time as there is sun here.
Okay, that's why I say that this map, I don't go with maps because there could be a lot of things like you're making. A lot of people would say, oh, planes that fly this way and this way, this map doesn't make sense, and I agree with you. This map doesn't make sense to a lot of those questions because, in my opinion, we don't know the true layout of the Earth. This is what they're telling us. This is just the government. Well, not even the government. All the governments. Have you heard of the UN?
The United Nations.
Exactly. Yes. So the people that run that, basically.
But there's also BRICS now to worry about. So there's not all.
There's what?
BRICS. Russia, China, the Middle East. So it's not very one-centric.
Did you know that Russia and the U.S. share the International Space Station?
Oh, yes.
So they're enemies down here, but they're friends up there?
Well, they're not exactly friends. It's not the same companies that work on, but yeah.
my point is they're all working together. But again, it's talking about people, motives, and all that, it's irrelevant to establishing the facts of physics, if you ask me. Because it's the ball Earth lie or the
you say
flat Earth.
Facts, but you already presented which one was the 2 paintings.
Oh yeah, the 2 paintings.
So how can I know that what you're saying is factual?
Don't believe me. Okay. That's my thing. Trust your common sense, trust your understanding, and understand physics. So anybody making a claim that water does bend after a mile, after 2 miles, the burden of proof is on them to prove that. From what I understand, water always finds its level. Always. That's a fact. Just like water always goes down, you'll never see a waterfall upside down. Ever. You'll never see a waterfall upside down. Waterfalls always, the water always goes down. That's a fact. Just like water always finds its level.
But do you know why it goes down?
I mean, is it relevant to why it goes down? I mean, you could say gravity, but I don't know if you knew the reason why things fall is actually a theory. So gravity. They claim that something's pulling this down. It's actually a theory. Do you know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I show you a 20-second clip real quick?
Sure.
Yeah. So they asked him, what is gravity, right? So here's his response. Oh, sure.
Do you know the formula equation for gravity? Just offhand.
I'm sorry?
The formula equation for gravity? Like
I don't know that. I don't know that.
It's the mass of 2 objects pulling. It's m1, m2 over.
What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question. Here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, what it is, I don't know.
But do you know why they said that?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. And then you could tell me your explanation after. But the reason why they say that is because obviously they didn't measure a force pulling this object down. What they measure was the rate in which things drop, which is 9.8 meters per second. So they're measuring the effect of why things fall, which is things falling. They're measuring the speed, how long it took for this to reach the floor, right? They're not measuring the cause, what caused it to fall. They're just measuring the effect, which is falling. They're just measuring the speed. And when he says that we could predict with it, measure with it, that's all he's talking about. Making assumptions about what's causing it and just measuring the rate in which things fall.
Okay, yes, but the reason he was actually saying that was because gravity doesn't actually fit into the, I want to say quantum mechanical physics. Because for quantum mechanics, we can explain, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear force, but gravity doesn't fall into that because we don't know how to measure it. We don't know if there's a gravitron still, or because by far all we know is that there's what's it called? I should know this. It's pissing me off. Space-time fabric. The heavier something is, the more it'll indent into this space-time fabric. However, we don't know how to quantitatively measure that.
You're talking about the bending and warping of space-time, basically. So, again, the gravity mass attracting mass didn't fit that concept. So they're basically saying that, again, space is being warped and things are being pushed down somehow. Now they're kind of changing their definition. I don't know if this globe model is always changing. For example, the distance to the sun, it started at 3 million miles, supposedly.
When did it start at that?
In early 1900s, I think.
Yes,
they started making claims, and then it went up to 103 million miles, and now it's back at 93 million miles.
So wouldn't the point of science changing though be helpful? Because in the earlier 1900s, we didn't even know other galaxies existed until I would like to say Hubble discovered the first one in like 1911, 1910s.
Do you know the three? Sorry, do you know the three branches of science? Because there is 3 branches of science. So there's natural science, which has to do with chemistry, biology, physics, which is natural science, basically. Then we have formal science, which has to do with concepts, language-based, theories, you ask me, language-based, basically. And then we have social sciences, which has to do with human, psychology, human behavior. So the shape of the Earth has to do with natural sciences, which has to do with physics, what's real.
It's measurable.
Measurable, exactly, testable. The globe only offers formal science, which is through concepts and theories, and it's only language-based. It's not natural science. So all these theories, equations that they're coming out, about outer space and orbital, it's all made up because it's not backed by natural science.
It's been tested, and we've.
How did they test what? Give me a claim and then tell me how they tested.
We've been able to launch a rocket out of orbit.
Okay, I would say that, I don't know if you've ever seen the rockets, when they shoot them up, they always go in a curve.
Yes.
In my opinion, they don't go nowhere, they go back down. So, because eventually when nobody could see that rocket anymore, it cuts to CGI. If you ever seen a rocket launch video, they're hours long sometimes, but sometimes, maybe you'll find a shortened version, but they always cut to CGI after the rocket goes out.
I mean, yes, but that's only because you can't, point a camera. Like you said, we only have a certain amount of zoom. Yeah. We can't, follow it with a plane, just curve up behind it and start zooming.
The funny thing is that they never put a camera on the rocket and let that camera play 20. What I'm saying is they always cut back and forth. And they do that for a reason, because once they cut back, when they're in space, they're not in space anymore. So they have to do that cut back and forth. They won't leave a camera on the rocket just live.
Okay, I'll retort that with this. Do you know how many people it takes to work a rocket?
To build a rocket?
To work on a rocket.
The reason why, and I'm pretty sure it takes a lot of people. And if you ask me, the reason why it's so compartmentalized is because they don't want people to put the pieces together. So you have somebody building the wing. You have somebody working on the engine. You have somebody else painting it. You have somebody else working on the landing equipment, and you have somebody else. So everything's compartmentalized because, again, you have a lot of people working on this project, and just so nobody puts the pieces together.
But I mean, we see the final rocket put together.
That's just the show for the gullible, if you ask me, just to basically affirm your people's beliefs that we're going up there, and that outer space exists.
I'm gonna agree to disagree.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
All right,
I wouldn't expect you to believe me, but one of the reasons why I'm out here, and this is not a belief, this is a fact. This is being censored. So I came across this in 2016, and people will get recommended videos of this, real information. Now in 2019 is when they started censoring. So now they're demoting anybody that's genuine like me, and they're promoting nothing but pseudoscientists or these experts like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Brian Cox and all these fools. And they're just dismissing it, ridiculing it, and misrepresenting people like me.
All
And that's how they're censoring it.
I would ask this: where is? Okay, so we have like say we have models, we have mathematics to back up.
Again,
our
formal
claim.
science, which is not natural, but yeah.
Where would your mathematics be for this?
Well, water always finds its level. It's not a concept; it's reality. Anybody claiming that water doesn't find its level and it starts to curve, the burden of proof is on you. So my stance is on physics. Physics of water being my number one proof. Another proof is, have you ever heard of Euclidean plane geometry?
No.
So Euclidean plane geometry is the geometry assumed for navigation, construction, engineering. It's basically how they construct long distances, railroads, bridges. The blueprints don't take account any curvature of the Earth. So everything's done on the assumption that the Earth is a level plane. That's why Euclidean plane geometry is used. So airplanes fly level, aka straight, over a plane. That's why they're called airplanes.
So I guess my last question is, how would you explain we're going through the solar system, or how would you explain that we're moving?
So outer space, again, it's just a concept. I don't know if you knew that. Again, formal science. It's not natural. It's not real. So it's all made up. So this is what the stars actually look like. Let me just show you real quick. This is what the stars actually look like. So anybody telling you that these are planets or Earth-like planets, and
are these strings? This is based off of string theory, no?
No.
I mean, we have better pictures now because of the James Webb.
Well, this is what NASA shows us, but this is what it actually looks like. NASA, it's just a light like the stars. And they're no more, if you ask me, the stars are no more than a couple hundred miles in the sky, maybe 1,000. And if you ask me, they have nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. It's just, if you ask me, the sky is just a map above us, like a calendar for us to follow. Like, just to know what time of the year it is. You know? Other than that, anybody telling you what they are?
Okay, so suppose Saturn is a flat disk as well.
Well, that's the thing.
How would the rings work?
That's the thing. I think it's just a light. So I don't know why it's being created. This light is pretty intriguing. I'm not gonna lie. This Saturn, the way it shines, it looks like it has a ring around its Earth, right? I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, I know what they told me. You know what it is. That supposedly this ring is like what is supposedly like debris orbiting around it. You know, they show the I've seen the cartoons. You know, but
we have photographs now.
Well, they don't call them photographs. They call them images. You know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they call them images. Yeah. And the reason they call them images is because, I don't know if you knew, the word image comes from the word imagination.
I'm gonna fact check you on that.
Yeah, anything they're showing us about outer space is just images. In other words, imagination. It's not real. You know? No, I actually like that you have a lot of questions. A lot of people don't have many questions.
That's good. A chemistry major, so
no, no, that's good. Chemistry is real. You know, you work with real substances. You know, natural science is what we should be going by. You know, not formal science. Any questions before you go? I mean, I could give you some info you could check out, so you could cross-reference. Because if you try to find any genuine information, you're not gonna find it. So you could cross-reference.
All right.
That's, you know. And if you have any questions before you go, you know,
All right.
I would appreciate it.
All right, well, I'm gonna agree to disagree. This is a fun conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, man.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
cool.
Thank you.
I'll see you around.
All right,
Thank you.
yeah.